M1 Global.
M1 Global. You actually want to see me talk about M1? Fine. Triggered Metatron, no problem. Okay, so I think it's about time. Quite a lot of people have asked me about this. Like people have been sending me links to these fights, these medieval, because it's incredible. This is absolutely, oh my goodness, I don't even know where to begin. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's watch it together. Let's watch a fight between two champions of this medieval combat sport based on what? MMA, boxing, kickboxing, I don't know. Let's check it out.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, for a fight between Eugene Bedenko and Ivan Vasiliev. And this is the first fight of the official M1 Medieval project.
And you call me that medieval. Do I really need to debunk this?
In red, Ivan Vasiliev is the two-time Russian champion, won both 2000 by judging it, okay, those spinning back fists earlier. It's getting very interesting now. But you still need some extreme...
This is the most absurd, nonsensical amount of bullshit that I've ever seen put together. We can safely say that modern Olympic foil fencing is actually closer to the way knights actually fought than this thing. Look at how it twists. Look at that. It makes no sense. Okay, they're wearing armor. I don't even want to know the level of quality of that armor, but let's put that aside. They're wearing armor. They fight sword and shield. The less effective weapon that you can conceive of to bring with you in a fight against an armored opponent. So they're using a sword. Of course, it's blunt. That's fine for security reasons, for safety reasons. That's fine. But they just smash each other on the helmet. You know how the point system works.
Strong strikes using the sword or the shield. If it hits the armor, the referee can, and there's judges on the side, the referee can award a point.
This makes absolutely no sense. They try to hit each other. They constantly try to cut each other's plates. And that's how they actually get points. You get 1 point if you hit your opponent strong enough on the helmet with a slashing motion with the sword. It makes no sense. Medieval knights, knights, the word knights. They actually call them knights. Hear this.
Apparently, and I've spoken to several of the knights over the past few days, apparently they don't really feel the armor when it's on. The crowd really enjoys watching these knights fight. It's very new to them here, but they definitely enjoy it.
He talked to these knights. They are not knights. They're not even close. A real medieval knight would probably take 3 or 4 of these and destroy them into pieces. Why? Because a real medieval knight, first of all, they would have been worn better quality armor, but apart from that, because you can see this armor dense, it's probably modern mile steel. Not to say the modern mile steel is bad, it's probably better than what many low-level soldiers would have worn in the Middle Ages, but not knights. Remember, the knights would be the wealthiest members of society. So they would be wearing, if we're talking about early 15th century, then they were already heat-treating loads of things. They were actually experimenting heat-treating even low-carbon steel, which doesn't do anything actually, because you do know that when you heat treat a piece of armor, if it does have a certain amount of carbon inside, then it will become harder but also more brittle, and that's why you also need to continue quenching, and you need to tempering it and continue working on it in order for it to actually become better. But knight armor would have been of a higher level of carbon inside it, and so it would have been a lot harder. You can't dent knight armor so easily. Secondly, they would half sword against each other if they were fighting an opponent in full armor, or they would use maces or any kind of actually blunt weapon, like maybe even pole arms, or perhaps using hammers, war hammers. Those would have been effective. You would have never seen this happen on the battlefield. So knights don't fight like this. This one has nothing medieval. These techniques that they use, some of these techniques that they use could make sense if their opponent wasn't armored and they were actually trying to slash him and cut him into pieces. This could work on some peasants, maybe. But you want to talk about this?
Well, you still need some extreme...
And he does it several times, as I could show you. He twists and turns, and this is why I tell you that Olympic fencing, it's better. At least they don't do these things. It's just a show for making money Full stop. This has nothing to do with the real European martial arts. As a matter of fact, since we're touching on this point, I remember watching this girl, this interview to this girl who now practices this sport, and that basically she was saying how she has always loved the knights, and she always liked the Middle Ages, and she was reading many things about it, and then one day she actually walked in one of these gyms where they theaters, if you ask me, but one of these gyms where they practice this martial art, whatever it is, this sport, M1 global, and then she said, oh, this is so cool, I really need to do this. No, sunshine, you don't. You need to practice HEMA. You are wasting your time, money, effort. This has nothing to do with it. It's just they are buffoons. It's complete utter nonsense. This has nothing to do. This is actually insulting to HEMA practitioners. This is an insult. You know, to be honest, if you practice it now, if you are practicing this now, I strongly suggest you to stop. Either practice MMA and learn how to fight, or practice HEMA if you're really interested in Knight's combat. This is nothing. This is just a facade. It's false. It's fake. And please don't come to me and tell me, oh, but they never said it. It's medieval.
Official M1 medieval project. Medieval.
They say they call them knights.
Several of the knights.
They are trying to sell it, and don't tell me it's not true. They are trying to sell it as something medieval, which has to do with history. They're trying to attract people who are interested in medieval European warfare, in knights, in knightly combat, but it has nothing to do with it. It's false, fake. HEMA is what you should be looking into.
Stamina. You need to be extremely fit to be able to wear all that and still maneuver for like 9 minutes. It's just...
It must be very difficult to read
I'm sure years in they're used to it. Many of these fighters have been fencing and doing all sorts of historical fencing for 10 to 15 years now. Many see the fighters are a lot more comfortable now. They're getting a little fancier with their shots.
Even attempting a spinning back kick.
The spinning back.
Pile of absolute nonsense. If you like Knights and you were starting to get interested into this, don't do it. Let's find yourself a HEMA club. To reiterate, I don't support this idea. I don't support this sport. I think it has nothing to do with the Middle Ages. I think it has nothing to do with the Knights. They should not call them Knights. Anyone who's practicing this who thinks that it has to do with the Middle Ages is completely wasting his time and money and effort. Perhaps the only case in I could consider it is if they tell me, yes, we know this has nothing to do with the Middle Ages. Yes, we know that this has nothing to do with history and historical combat, but we're doing it because we have fun doing so. That's the only thing I could respect. They're like, you're fine, do whatever you want. But then they should change the name. They shouldn't call it M1. They should call it PTK WWATA. Pretending to know what we are talking about. Alright then, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content from the Metatron. Any other sport or martial art you would like him to review, please let me know in the comments below. And remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Goodbye, noble ones.